Good morning, fellow commission members, staff members, attorneys, and guests. This is Friday, August the 21st at approximately 9:40 a.m. I'm Minnie Ann Lane, your commission chairman, and I'll now call to order the meeting of the Tennessee Private Investigation and Polygraph Commission. I'd like to request that our Executive Director, Cody Vest, call the roll and verify a quorum, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. But before I do that, I would like to go on record to welcome and introduce our new Assistant General Counsel, Ashley Thomas. You probably saw her were you at the last meeting, did you say? Oh, it was Anthony Glandorf that was with us last time. But she has been appointed as our private investigation attorney this time. And we're looking forward to her staying with us a while. So we'll go.
We are too.
David Brown.
Here.
Larry Flair.
Here.
David Horton.
Here.
Rick Jones. Minnie Lane.
Here.
Jerry Richards.
Here.
Dr. Rich.
Here.
Alan Russo. Walt Valentine.
Yes.
Let the record show that you do have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'll ask if each of our commission members has received and reviewed a copy of the agenda, and if there's a motion to adopt the agenda.
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Rich to approve the agenda, and second by Commissioner Valentine. All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? We've adopted the agenda as presented. If each of the commission members has reviewed the minutes of the May 15th, 2015 commission meeting, I'll ask if there's a motion to approve these minutes as they are presented.
So move. David.
Motion made by Commissioner Horton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Brown. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carried. At this point on the agenda, we have the legal report under Exhibits A and B, and I'll respectfully request that our Assistant General Counsel, Ashley Thomas, handle these items, please.
Excuse me. Good morning. We have two cases on the legal report. Case number one is case number 2015-008-091. This is a consumer complaint alleging that respondent is engaging in activity as an unlicensed private investigator. The complaint alleges that during a dispute with his former landlord, respondent contacted the complainant's family, indicating he was a private investigator hired to locate the complainant. The complainant states that he contacted the respondent to request communication with his family stop. The complainant offered evidence of a telephone conversation between him and the respondent regarding the actions of the respondent. During the conversation, the respondent stated he was contacting complainant on behalf of the landlord in an attempt to settle the landlord-tenant dispute. The complainant alleged that respondent indicated that if the matter was not resolved, he would contact the complainant again. Respondent indicated to the complainant that he was licensed in the state of Tennessee and operated a company named 24/7 PI. Through an investigation, respondent was located as living in Burns, Tennessee, and was currently in an inpatient drug rehabilitation program through at least the end of July 2015. Respondent's mother stated that respondent was employed by a drug rehabilitation provider prior to entry into the rehabilitation program. The investigator obtained a sworn affidavit from the landlord for whom the respondent performed the alleged private investigator activities. The landlord stated that respondent offered to help gather information and contacted the complainant. The landlord stated that respondent did not identify himself as a private investigator. The landlord finally stated that the respondent offered to help because he knew of the landlord's financial problems allegedly caused, that should say by complainant, I'm going to apologize for that. As of July 13, 2015, the investigator had not received a response or an affidavit from the complainant. As a recommendation, I recommend that we authorize a formal and send a consent order with a civil penalty in the amount of $1,000 for violation of Tennessee Code annotated 62-26-204A.
Is there a motion?
Move we accept council's recommendation.
Motion by Dr. Rich to accept the council's recommendation. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Madam Chairman. Larry Flair.
Second by Commissioner Flair. Any discussion?
I presume he does not have that PI company that he said he did.
He does not.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries to accept the recommendation of council.
Second case is case number 2015-016581. This complaint opened when the program received a termination notice from respondent more than 30 days from the date of termination. PI number 7033 was terminated on February 27, 2015, and the program office received a notice of termination on June 10, 2015. The respondent in his response apologized for the oversight and states that the letter should have been generated by its Nashville, Tennessee office rather than the home office in the state of Georgia and forwarded for filing. The respondent states it has implemented a new system to avoid the mistake in the future. I recommend that we issue a letter of warning to the respondent and close.
There a motion?
I recommend we follow council's recommendations.
A motion by Commissioner Brown,
Second?
second by Commissioner Valentine. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries to follow the recommendation of council to issue a letter of warning.
Second matter of business relates to an Attorney General opinion. In December of 2014, the Commission requested an Attorney General opinion regarding whether entities that provide K-9 detection services to school systems and/or industries, whether they must be required to obtain a private investigation license. On July 28, 2015, the Office of the Attorney General issued opinion number 15-62. In the opinion, the Office of the Attorney General determined that a private entity that contracts to provide K-9 detection services is acting as an investigations company and a private investigator. Therefore, the private entity is required to obtain a private investigation license. The opinion further stated that the private entities are not exempted under Tennessee Code annotated Section 6226-223. The private entities, while working under contract with school systems, are acting as independent contractors, and independent contractors are not employees of the governmental entity to which they provide services. I believe that the Commission issued a letter of instruction to a currently closed complaint. That was complaint number 2014-023-991. Since the Office of the Attorney General issued opinion number 15-62, I've issued a letter of further instruction to that respondent in the complaint along with a copy of this Attorney General opinion. And the respondent, I believe, has indicated that he will apply for licensure as a private investigation company. That is all I have for you this morning.
Thank you very much, General Counsel Thomas. Following our agenda, the next item is the administrative matters, and I will turn these items over to our Executive Director, Cody Vest, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Get my little stuff here together. The first one we have is going to be Exhibit C. It's our disciplinary action reports for the month of May, June, and July. This has already been sent out to you. We can take a quick look at it. It does have all our programs on it, but for the month of May, June, and July of 2015, you didn't have any disciplinary action that would cause. Take a look as the other programs have. We do include in this, if you turn the page, you will see, we do include our child support suspensions and student loans on every program once we get these. You didn't have any either. There's no questions on that item. We'll just move right along to our monthly report for May, June, and July. The first thing we had in May was the alarm board. We went to the Hill for the sunset hearing it was due on Wednesday, July the 17th. June the 17th of 2015. Your program has not come up for a sunset yet. I did ask all board members to be present, and they were at the sunset hearing. Will be rolled over as well. Page 2, you'll see that we do have a vacancy On the commission, it is Alan Russo's term that has expired, but Mr. Russo will serve till someone else has been reappointed. This report has already been sent out to you also, which we do every month, listed, as you can see, that we're our county manager, meeting monthly with the attorneys. And that's all we have for me, if there's no questions. Then we're going to go to the open complaint report, which is Exhibit E. Excuse me. You have a total, look there, of 6, and of course 2 of them was presented today, so we only have actually 4 complaints. We still have one that's out in investigation. An investigative report has been received. Very pleased to say. We move right along. We're going to go to Exhibit F. And Beth, you need to pass these out. Excuse me. Beth is going, if you look at your report, the budget review, Beth is handing out the expenditure sheet. Whenever it copied over, it didn't copy everything that you would need to see. So I wanted, that's why we're passing that back out. Just stop at the month of June. You've got your totals on there. But I'm going to tell you, we have not closed out the fiscal year yet, so these are just preliminary figures. These are the expenditures that you're looking at right here. The expenditures just for the operation for the program is $114,440.04. You'll notice your the revenue is being combined with the private investigation and the polygraph. Your revenue is $208,005. I rounded it off if there was any cents. I didn't worry with the cents there. This is without any cost backs. Your cost backs are going to be the new computer system that we're implementing, attorney fees, investigations, and administration. I don't have any figures on those, but I went back and looked at our budget last year, and we were right at $50,000 to $55,000. So we may stay in that same ballpark. So you could subtract 50 from the 93. I think from what it looks like here, we're going to be all right. We're still going to be in the black, so we don't need to talk about raising fees or anything this year. Looks good. As soon as I get the other figures, I will have Beth email them to you, and hopefully I'll have them be able to present to you at our next board meeting, the final budget, exactly what our totals are. The next thing on the agenda was my legislative update, and I don't have any legislation update to present today. So, Madam Chair, that's actually going to finish my little section here. Only other thing I wanted to say was I did, like I said, I went to the Hill for the sunset for the alarm. There was a possible legislation. I just want you to be aware of it. It's just possible there would be some legislation that stating that if board members miss more than 2 meetings in the year, they will automatically be dismissed from the board or the commission. We're sent these dates, we do about a year in advance. We do understand things come up. There's been some problems with having quorums and people coming to the meetings not able to stay, or they get there that still don't have a quorum or whatever. I don't have that problem with my 2 programs. The Private Investigation Polygraph Commission nor the Alarm System Contractors Board. Thank you. I appreciate that. I just want you to be legislation coming down that might affect commission members.
How many meetings Director Vest was at if they didn't miss?
2.
2?
Per year?
Yes. That's the way it was. Now, if it comes down, I don't know what it'll say. But that's what they were talking about. The next thing we have, if you want me to go ahead, Madam Chair, I believe is Mr. Bell here?
Yes.
Mr. Bell, would you come up and sign in, please? If you move to Exhibit G. God, I gotta slow down.
I can't even get the exhibits up, you're done.
Sorry, it's going too fast.
No comment.
Mr. Bell, if you'll give the commission members just a few minutes here to look over this.
Except for, he was denied it.
Yeah, I saw that. Mr. Bell, would you mind having a seat right there at the microphone? That way they.
There we go. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bell is before you today because his application has been denied for material misstatement, and he is appealing that denial. Those dudes got an offer friendly out there.
Everything you need to? Okay, Mr. Bell, do you wish to make a statement to the commission?
First of all, I say, Ms. Lane and distinguished members, thank you for allowing me to attend
Sir,
today.
you need to, Mr.
Oh,
Bell, please speak
oh.
into the microphone.
Yes, ma'am.
So-
I'd like to thank Ms. Lane and distinguished members for allowing me to attend today. Just respectfully requesting review of the material and
has to
It
be
keeps
on.
it keeps cutting off.
Right, you just have to keep hitting the
Keep,
speak
I'll have to
button.
keep hitting it. I in no way intentionally tried to misrepresent myself, and as in my letter, in my haste, I did not read the application properly. I did, I do know the happened in the past is in the past, and it was, excuse me, again, my error, it was my error. I did not in any way intentionally try to misrepresent the application.
Excuse me.
Have any questions?
After the last commission meeting, I went back and reread the application. I don't understand how you or anybody else could misinterpret what information was requested on that application.
Again, sir, I read it as criminal versus, and in Georgia as being a misdemeanor. Keeps going on.
Other questions from
How
commission
did you
members?
arrive at that decision?
Sir,
How did you arrive at that?
I was told in Georgia it was a misdemeanor.
Who told you?
Actually, a friend who's an attorney in Georgia.
Did you ask his advice as far as filling that out, whether that was criminal or not? Or what it said?
It was
Pretty clear.
basically an opinion from him. I didn't ask for legal or pay for any legal advice.
Did you fill out the application and you signed it, correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right.
Anybody else have questions?
On your Douglas County, Georgia, you spent 1 day incarcerated, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. And 40 hours of community service.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
If the I'm just going to remind you, if the commission denies his application, he will need to wait 6 months to make new application from the date of the.
Mr. Bell, you're licensed in Georgia and Texas?
Yes, sir. I also hold a Georgia and South Carolina property and casualty adjuster's license.
Said property and casualty.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Your Texas application, did they ask you these similar questions?
I do not have a copy of my Texas application, so I don't want to say yes or no in error.
How long have you been licensed in Texas?
But since I started with the company in October of last year, probably, I would say December, maybe.
You say you're licensed as an insurance adjuster in 2 states?
Yes, sir.
And in what capacity what's your license allow you to do?
As a property and casualty adjuster, I could take statements, inspect automobiles, do scene investigations, and again, statements one-on-one with individuals, collect information.
Where'd you get your training for that?
In Georgia, I took a test for that a little over 20-something years ago. I've had my license since then.
Question? Is there a motion?
One more question. On your insurance adjuster, is that for just property damage or is that for liability situations, third party, first party, what?
Yeah, yes, sir. First, third party on the casualty.
On the casualty
Yes,
part.
sir.
But you're not familiar with the property damage as far as structures?
To be honest with you, sir, I did not do a lot of property from other than probably homeowners.
Madam Chairman, I got one question may I direct to the director? Ms. Cody, if he's denied, or if a motion's made hypothetically and he's denied today, he will have the opportunity in 6 months to reapply?
Yes, 6 months from the date of the denial, he can reapply.
And would that date of denial be
when you guys denied it, or today's resolution?
No, it'd be the original denial, not.
The original
this.
denial. And again, what date was that? How long ago was that been?
3 months ago?
25th.
So in essence, it'd be 90 more days. He could,
Oh.
he,
Be December,
December 25th.
yeah, okay.
Christmas. All
Christmas
right.
present. Any other questions? Is there a motion?
Application be denied.
Motion by Commissioner Richards.
I'll second it.
I'll
Application
second that.
denied. Second by Commissioner Flair, second then. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show that I abstain. The motion carries to deny the application.
Any opposed, Madam Chair?
No, just one abstain.
You heard you are eligible to make application, but it will be in December. Application from our office. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you again for your time.
We want to take a break here for about 10 minutes or so. Back to order, and next, it looks like we've got on the agenda the education report, and I'll ask our administrative assistant, Beth Smith-Bell, if she'll handle that. Exhibit H.
I'll be glad to.
Thank you.
Get my notes out here. At the Education Committee meeting earlier today, we reviewed the following courses. I'll read them into the record. The recommendation on all these courses was to approve. One of them, I'll identify how many hours it's good for. Mark Caudill submitted the Santa Clara University Law School Death Penalty College in August. He's already attended it. That recommendation was for approval. Dennis Crawford has submitted EOS Systems Photo Modeler Collision Investigation Seminar in Orlando, Florida in March of this year. The recommendation was to approve that. James R. Phillips has submitted the Knox County Sheriff's Office Regional Training Academy. The recommendation was to only approve that for 12 hours. Central Arkansas Bail Bond School has submitted a basic private investigator class. It's an online class for 210 hours, but they submitted it for continuing education approval and not for investigator training for initial application, which is not required in Tennessee. The recommendation for that was approval. Robert M. Duhame has submitted a certified accident investigation school. It's a 12-hour webinar and in-person training. The recommendation was to approve that for continuing education. Mr. Flair submitted the International Narcotics Interdiction Program, the 25th Annual INIA Conference. It's for Drug Terrorist Interdiction Training Conference. It was held in May 2015, Newport Beach, California. The recommendation was to approve that. Mr. Flair, Larry, were you also requesting that International Narcotics Interdiction Program be added to the list of recognized training organizations?
That was my intentions, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Does the committee or the commission have any issues with that? They meet annually, correct, Larry?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The conference is annually and once a year for the 40 hours.
Okay, is there any concern about adding that organization to the list of recognized organizations? Okay. The next item on the Education Committee is Parabon Corporation Forensics. They provide digital forensic equipment and training. I believe they're one of the leaders in the equipment for digital forensics. They had their PFIC, which is Parabon's Forensic Innovation Conference in Huntsville, Alabama in July of this year. That conference was a 2-day conference The recommendation is to approve that for 12 hours. They also offer several certifications: Paraben Mobile Fast Tracking Training, Paraben P2C Commander Certified Examiner, and Paraben Certified Mobile Examiner. These certifications are also recommended for approval to meet private investigator continuing education requirements. Mr. Flair also submitted the National Center for Victims of Crime. It was a 3-hour seminar offered here in Nashville in June, Taking Action, Assisting Victims of Financial Fraud. Recommendation was to approve that. And the Tennessee Association of Investigators submitted their resumes and agenda for their 2015 conference in Memphis, October the 24th. They are on the approved provider list, but we always review their agendas so we can add them to our course list. And the recommendation on all these at the committee meeting this morning was to approve as presented.
I have a motion.
I have a question.
Okay?
On the one for Central Arkansas Bail Bond School.
Bail bond,
Bail bond, it looks like, is that really 210 hours?
It's an online class. It's really how to become a private investigator. My concern with that in the first place was that this guy's not a trainer here, but we don't require training to get a license. And he submitted it specifically for continuing education.
Looking, that's like 5 40-hour weeks.
But again, I think it probably takes 6 months to complete it. It might take even longer than that. But since training's not required to get a license in Tennessee, if he were offering training how to become a private investigator for a fee, he would have to have a Tennessee trainer's license. That was my only concern with that, is that he doesn't hold a Tennessee trainer's license, but he's not offering it. He only submitted it for continuing education. I could see somebody that qualified with a degree maybe taking that class just to get some real basic education. And again, after we approve it and kind of see what's coming in, we may revisit it and see that he's advertising it differently than it was submitted or something like that. And we might have to come back and say, hey, you're going to need a trainer license to offer it that way. Any other questions?
Is there a motion?
I move we approve the Education Committee.
Motion by Commissioner Valentine. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Brown, second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose?
Can the re-
Motion
Can the record reflect that I abstained because I submitted two? I think that it should show that I do that.
if you want to go on the
It's
record
on
that
Yeah.
you, okay.
Yes.
We have one abstain and the motion carried. Commissioner Flair.
Thank you.
Okay. Looks like next is unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? Okay.
Yes, ma'am, we do. And I'm going to turn this over to our Assistant General Counsel, Ms. Thomas.
Okay, as far as the rules on fingerprinting, I just wanted to update the commission that we are still discussing with the Attorney General on any edits to the rules, just to make sure they are reviewed for constitutionality and legality.
Give you an update on that. Thank you.
Is that all the unfinished?
No, we're not finished with the unfinished yet. I'm slowing down.
No, that's
So
all right.
Take a breath
I'm
there.
not rushing.
We want to talk about the item review. Beth,
For the
you wanna-
exams?
For the exam, for the item review. Beth and I are going to be sitting in on the item review for the PIs and for the company. We will be with the laws and rules. Our chair, Ms. Lane's going to be also on that committee. And who is the, Stuart said he couldn't.
Trainer,
Stuart Bain, the dates that they've selected that the company is available, and we could change the dates, but right now we're trying to do it on October the 5th and 6th, 2 half-day webinars where we actually review the test questions and the answers and either rewrite some of them or remove some of them or add some new questions. It's probably gonna take about 4 hours each day to go over all, and this is just for the PI and PI company exams. We haven't had any real complaints about the polygraph exams. Mr. Bain is not available on those dates, and we were wondering if the commission, if we wanted to maybe ask for a volunteer.
Not
To
from the
help?
commission,
No.
because if we have two, it has to
Right.
be open to the public.
It would have to be a person who has a license
It's not a commission member.
that's not a commission member.
Mr. Dawson, would you want to volunteer to do that? I'm not speaking up loud enough.
Mr. Mason,
It would
probably-
be on the computer, 2 half days perhaps, and we would be reviewing test questions with the
Mason has
provider.
volunteered.
I beg your pardon?
Mr. Mason has volunteered if Bob's not interested.
Okay, and what's your full name?
Timothy.
Timothy?
Mason?
ASON? Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Dawson, but I guess we got to volunteer.
So that's what we're scheduling now. I've been working with PSI trying to set this up for a couple of months. What we did find out is that Alabama, with their new law, is also contracting with PSI to offer their exam. And they had some issues with the same questions that we have issues with as far as their performance. So we're gonna use their recommendations in addition to our review to hopefully remove any that don't apply or that are just way too detailed from that book as far as what f-stop to put your camera on and stuff that is really a personal preference and shouldn't be a test item. But anyway, we're gonna do that on October the 5th and October the 6th, from like 8:30 to 12. And surely we'll have that finished shortly, so.
I was shocked that the passing scores were as high as percentages were as high as they are. I thought it was going to be like 30 or 40%, and it was like, what, 67%
Passing or for
for
non-passing?
passing.
Some people are taking it 3 times, and
Oh,
what
yeah.
we don't understand is if maybe they're not studying the laws and rules because what we want to verify is that those test questions are not the ones that the people miss every time.
Right.
We don't want to make it too easy, but we also don't want to put test questions out there that somebody's going to fail by 1 point just because they didn't remember what f-stop put the camera. I mean, I think we're only going to have a few items that are not performing well that we need to look at. But we agreed to do this, so we're going to move forward with it.
Right.
Okay, I think the next thing we had is the 2016 commission meetings. Everybody's got their sheets. Everybody knows what the new dates will be for next year. So,
Every other month.
oh yeah, now we will be meeting every other month. And I was gonna add that in with my new business, but I'll go ahead and discuss it now. We were on every 3 months because we had a lack of business. We've got our complaints under control, and we just didn't have that much to discuss, but it was brought to my attention that we do need to meet every other month. In saying that, what I would like to do, since we won't, supposedly, we're not gonna have a lot of business, I would like to start having some guest speakers. So I'm open for you to send me an email if you would, if you know of an organization or a speaker, a topic that you would like to hear. If I can bring somebody in and speak for an hour. Doesn't have to be, of course, a private investigator, but something that would be in that line in your field to be helpful.
Or polygraph.
Or polygraph, yeah, yes, please. I did attend, Hannah and I attended a seminar recently on human trafficking. That was very, very interesting. Even though it wasn't private investigations or alarms, that topic is very hot now. So I may bring someone in on that line, and I'd like to contact the TBI, see if they have someone that would be gracious enough to come over and speak with us. Of course, I won't be able to pay a speaker. This would be a voluntary thing to do.
We
So-
might also get some of our continuing education providers, like Mr. Duhame with his accident reconstruction course, to come in
That would be good.
and give you a
Overview
sample
of
of
it,
that.
yeah.
So, we'll be working on the meetings for next year, but if you have any suggestions, send Cody
Yes.
an email.
Please let me know about that. And I believe Beth has passed out the sheets for IASSER. I'm mentioning that again. That's in November. In New Orleans, looks like the topic is going to be directed at private investigators this year. The last one I attended in Louisville was directed at security companies, and this one looks, from what the agenda is, going to be talking about drones this year, which is opened up to be a hot topic as well.
Get your camera.
Yeah, you got anything?
Got one other item under unfinished business. It's the Alabama reciprocal agreement. We did send the agreement to them. About a month after we sent it, I contacted their director and was informed that their law is written so strictly, it only allows for them to enter into true reciprocal license agreements, and that a license recognition agreement, like we offered them, their law doesn't provide for that. They haven't been licensing long enough to meet our requirements to have a 2-year license in good standing for the license where you could apply for a license here and qualify based on your license there. And they also don't require a company affiliation. They only have individual licenses. So I don't know that we're gonna be able to enter into a reciprocal agreement where you would qualify for a license there based on your license here, until they've been licensing for 2 years, and we'll have to look at the language as far as how to word that when they don't require a company and we do. Because if they came here to apply for a license, they would have to get a company. So we might could recognize they're individual, but they'd still have to qualify for the company. They're considering trying to revise their law because they really wanted the license recognition agreements that didn't require a license for cases that originate in your home state. And I know our investigators really want to be able to work there. So we're still in litigation with it, but until they get their law changed, they're not able to enter into the agreement we have with most of the states in the Southeast. So we're working on it.
That conclude the old business.
That's the old business.
Do we have new business to address?
I incorporated mine in the new business.
Okay.
Only thing I could say, let's say, I'll put it under new business. Beth and I do go and attend the associations, or it's kind of a hot topic that we get out of the office and go to different areas to talk with people. It's a little hard for me to go to senior citizens and talk about private investigations. Maybe the alarm industry, yes, I do, and locksmiths, but for private investigations, I mean, it's hard for me to do that. So what I was thinking is maybe we can take maybe some time on our next meeting, and we could present to the commission what we do talk about when we do go and talk to the associations, give our presentation, I guess you could say, to the board, so you can see what we are go to these commission meetings and things. So if you do have any ideas, any places that you think that we could go and talk about private investigations, we'd be more than happy to do so.
Good.
I have a question.
Oh, yes, we went to Remington, excuse me, Beth did remind me, Remington College did talk with us, asked us to come out, and Beth and I both went out there on one day. I guess we spent about half a day, didn't we?
Yeah, we were about a 2.5-hour presentation to
yeah.
their criminal justice class.
Yeah.
And they brought all the nursing students in who were studying also. So we had about, I think, 28 people.
Something like that, so it was very interesting. We, of course, we did touch on private investigation as well. We covered the whole gamut that we do.
They had actually some interesting questions about polygraph.
Yes, that was
The nurses were asking those questions, so.
Sure.
yeah, they were interesting.
Commissioner Horton?
Question about drones. I've always been under the impression as a PI, I could not go onto your property and look over a fence, peer into your window, or tap a phone. But wouldn't a drone flying over your backyard be an invasion of privacy?
If I get that question in the commission office, the response would be, you need to seek your own counsel.
Am I right about we cannot go peer over a fence and look through a window or tap a phone?
You weren't here
Go
at
to
the last
ICER and find
meeting.
out the airspace and all.
At the last,
I would
hey,
think a drone would be invasion of privacy.
That's gonna be the topic of the conversation.
Good deal.
And, from what I understand from the last meeting we had at ICER, which touched a very little bit on drones, it's gonna be covered under federal regulation, not state.
I would say that if anybody was considering a drone an invasion of privacy, they better have some mighty good liability insurance, because they'll be sued. I'd sue them.
the federal laws are gonna prohibit use of a drone in that fashion.
Yeah, I'm sure, but.
And we did have Pat Riley, who's the chairman of TAI. They have a speaker at their seminar in October in Memphis. He's the person that actually filmed the 4th of July fireworks here in Nashville last year with the drone, and is a pilot. You're almost gonna have to have a pilot's license to use drones in that capacity for a commercial use. But they are having a speaker on that, and we've considered having one here at one of our meetings next year, so.
If you'd be interested in that, we will set up a speaker.
That law is changing rapidly.
Daily, yes.
And the last I heard is that you could not use one commercially.
Right.
You can use it for fun, but if you use it for profit, it's illegal.
We'll get some information on that and see what else we can get, as far as a copy of any federal law and that kind of thing to share with you.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt.
go right ahead.
Why is it necessary to meet every other month? Since I've been on the commission, which has not been long, but we've always finished by about noon. So why do we need to do this every other month? And it sounds to me like these speakers that you're talking about bringing in is kind of make work, and it's justifying the fact that we need to meet every other month. And I read something in the paper, I guess it was day before yesterday, where the governor has said that every department has got to cut their budget 3.5%. And I just wonder why we're doing this.
Those have been my instructions. I don't know how else to word that. I've been instructed to move from every 3 months to every 2 months. But if we do see that this is not working for us, I will take it back to the administration and say, I don't have enough business. I'm bringing in normally 9 members, and we are paying for that. But I will take a look at that. But I'm not trying to make business, or when I say these guest speakers, I think it would also help our audience as well to have these speakers. And perhaps we can get, if they know we're having certain topics, perhaps we can get more PIs to attend and give them continuing education for the attendance.
Commission, you were not here, but the commission is the one that voted that we could give continuing education hours to the people that attend and for the members. Okay, in order to do that, we're gonna have to present something other than just motions.
That's why I say, if you don't have anything of interest, we'll be glad to check into it and see what kind of speakers that we can get. I would like to see a lot more participation from the private investigation commission, industry, and bringing people in to listen. Actually do. If it means listen to a speaker, that's fine. They may not attend the associations. What I understand, there's only 2 in Tennessee.
Yeah.
3, okay. I misspoke, excuse me. And not all PIs belong to any of these associations. So that was just a thought. Now, hopefully you can give me some guidance on that line.
Did anyone sign up for the continuing education participation forum? Did you sign up? someone sign up?
Talking about at the
I'm
podium?
talking about if you got a question. Okay. Participation. Okay, well, at this point, I believe I'll ask if there's a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a
adjourn.
motion, Madam Chairman, that we adjourn. Larry Flair.
I thought Mr. Flair would make that motion, and it was seconded by Commissioner Valentine. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Commission meeting is adjourned.